Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Foreign Correspondents Club of Japan. I'm Dan Sloan, president of this organization. Well, it's getting warm in Japan, and I'm not just talking about record temperatures. There's a lot going on, and we're going to get to that very shortly. But first, we had the honor to host our speaker today, Representative Kono, at our New Year's party in January. And along with his brief remarks that day, he made many guests evening by allowing them to take a selfie with one of Japan's longest serving and most experienced public servants. There was no Q&A that night. Obviously, today will make up for that. But it was clear that evening, as well as in interviewing him for almost 3 decades, that the former chairman of the National Public Safety Commission, as well as former Minister of Defense, Foreign Affairs, Digital Transformation, Cybersecurity, Administrative Reform, Disaster Management, Consumer Affairs and Food Safety, Civil Service Reform, as well as Vaccine Czar, almost always has something to say. That brings him, luckily, to our doors today at a time of uncertainty and questions about his own Liberal Democratic Party, the future of its leader, Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba, as well as for Japan itself, after a recent upper house election in which a right-wing party gained seats on a Japanese first policy, as well as separately a just concluded trade deal with the United States. About 1 year ago, even with such a CV, Representative Kono ran for the LDP presidency for a 3rd time on a platform of political reform, and was also a candidate of the ASO faction. He did not succeed, and obviously Prime Minister Ishiba was elected head of the party and eventually leader of Japan. By way of background, Representative Kono's grandfather, Ichiro, was a leading figure in the early LDP, and his father, Yohei, was LDP president in 1993, and I believe the only party leader not to become premier. Our guest has served 10 terms, representing Kanagawa's District 15. He has earned a reputation within the LDP and in Japan as an outspoken maverick. That's not always a passport to greater political support, however. He's known for his love of durian, being a proud Georgetown alumni, for being chairman of the JRA, I believe, former chairman, as well as Shonan Bellmare FC, and a social media maven. And his X account currently has some 2.46 million followers as of last week. So, for the latest from Nagatacho and from his own Kanagawa Prefecture, with no further ado, our guest of honor, Representative Taro Kono.
Thank you. Is it on?
Should be.
Should be.
I'll give you the
okay, that's fine. Well, thank you very much for inviting me back. Again, it seems I'm coming once a year at least, I guess. We just lost the majority in the upper house election. I was a deputy campaign manager, and I resigned from that position because I think we should have done better, but we didn't actually. Well, the reason for LDP's defeat, well, the major reason is we couldn't send out a message to the voters. In the last general election last year, we had no message to the voters. I mean, no one remembers our message to the voters, and no one remembers what we put out on our campaign posters. So I went around the country interviewing the candidate for the upper house election and local organization, everybody, without any exception. Everyone said we need to get the right message out. What LDP will do for the people, what LDP can do for the people. And they want the message out as soon as possible. So in the party, I asked the leadership, okay, we need to come up with a good message for the upper house election and what LDP will do for the people in this country. And we failed to do that until the election's over. So those who got a very good message like the Japanese first or increased take-home pay, those parties increased the votes, and those who failed to do that lost. On top of that, I think inflation hurt LDP and Komeito. I mean, inflation is bad for the government party everywhere in democracies. And, well, so inflation was not helping LDP. And then there, I mean, at the bottom of everything, there's a money scandal, and LDP still hasn't held anyone responsible for the scandal. So people still don't know what happened, who led it, and we simply spent time, and it wasn't buried. Also, there were many issues starting from pension reform, inflation, issues of over-tourism, issues of those who came in as a tourist asking for refugee status and tried to work in Japan illegally. There are a lot of issues, and the government could address those issues, but there are many issues the government didn't. It's because we still, I mean, LDP get rid of factions. Well, there's only one left in LDP. When there are factions, faction leader need to choose MP for the cabinet to get their support or loyalty. But now there's no factions. The prime minister could and should choose whoever able to execute the policies. And I think some failed. And I think all those things contributed to the defeat of LDP in upper house election. Well, inflation. We should call the end of Abenomics sometime before. Abenomics may be good to bring the economy out of deflation, but now economy is with inflation and interest rate, so we should have new economic policies. Abenomics was easy monetary policy and expansive budgetary policy and structural reform, which didn't happen. Now what we need is tight monetary policy to bring the yen stronger. And I think collaborating strict budgetary policy, we definitely need to balance the budget soon. And then we need to bring in real structural reform. And we failed to do that. So everybody was talking about, well, every opposition party was talking about cutting taxes, consumption tax or gasoline tax. But during the inflation, if you cut the consumption tax, it will probably speed up inflation. I still don't think cutting consumption tax is good policy. What we should have done is the government should talk to Bank of Japan, ask Bank of Japan to increase the interest rate, and in return, government will cut expenditure trying to balance the budget as soon as possible. That's what we should have been doing, and we should have talked to the public that cutting consumption tax is not a good way to kill inflation. We should have do that. We didn't. And I think now the opposition party got the majority in both houses, and they're introducing the gasoline tax cut. Well, everyone now feels the global warming, and we need to reduce the carbon dioxide emission. At the same time, we are trying to cut the tax on gasoline so that people can drive gasoline car more freely. I think it's very awkward. What we should be doing, and we are doing at the same time, we are trying to give subsidies or benefit out to offset the higher electricity bill. Those two measures are really against what we should be doing to counter global warming. What we should be doing is to increase the price of gasoline so people would have more incentive to get out of the gas car to EV or at least hybrid or something more efficient so that we could reduce the use of gasoline. So the government should give out the benefit so that people would have more incentive to get out of the gasoline car to EV. At the same time, for electricity bill, the higher electricity bill will reduce the electricity consumption, which is supposed to be good to counter the global warming. What the government should be doing is to provide a subsidy for added insulation to the houses and the buildings, or give subsidy for solar power, photovoltaic on your roof, or things like that. But what we have been doing is really giving out the subsidy, giving out the benefit so people can still consume the same amount of gasoline and the same amount of electricity, and that is really counter. So we definitely need to explain to the general public, well, people are feeling this 40 degrees centigrade heat, and it's going up. So what we need to do is give higher priority for the global warming policy. And I think we have been doing something we should have been doing. And what we should be doing is like introducing refundable tax credit. Right now, people are suffering from inflation, higher prices. So the government wants to help the household. But the government has no information on how much you're earning. The government has information from the tax return of previous year. So if you are to give out a benefit, you have to give benefit to every household or those who are lower than the threshold of income tax. And that threshold is used all the time. So anyone who's a little bit over the threshold get no benefit at all, and they're suffering the most. And if we introduce the refundable tax credit, as well, if you have low income, you get the benefit from the government. as your income goes up, the benefit gets smaller and smaller, and at a certain point, you start paying the income tax. So that would help people with lower income. So that's what we should be doing. Plus, we should bring in the digital safety net. So when you get paid or when you pay salary to everyone, you should send the digital information to unified window of the government. Who get the money, how much, what's the tax on it, what's the social security pension they paid, and they share with tax office, pension office, local government. And so the government would have your income information at the real time, and those who are suffering, the government could give benefit to targeting to those households. That's what we should be doing. The other things the government should have been doing and we didn't is we really need to talk about immigration policy, or if immigration is too hard a word, we can say foreign workers policy. The Japanese economy definitely need people coming from outside to get a job in Japan, and we definitely need them. So we need to set policy who should be getting work permit in this country, who they are, and then if you meet the criteria, you should be welcome and you should be supported in Japan. But those who are against those rules, you have to be tough on them. So those who are coming in as a tourist, and when you get in Japan, you ask for refugee status and trying to work. There are many of those coming from Thailand, Sri Lanka, or Turkey. I think the immigration office and the police agency need to be tough on them. So Japan welcomed those foreign workers according to the rules, but we're going to be tough on those outside of the rules. And that's what we should have been doing. And I think we were not strict on the rules. So those who violated the laws or against the rules came in, and they were able to stay and work. And at the end of the day, those who are calling the Japanese first get support because the government wasn't doing what the government's supposed to be doing. We also need to do the pension reform. A lot of people, a lot of younger generation are worried about their future, their pension. Many of them are not actually believing in the current pension system. They don't think they get enough pension when they become 65, or they probably don't think they get the pension when they become 65. So we really need to be showing the data, showing what's really going on and what is the best way to keep this pension system. And in order to do that, right now the government has been telling you, oh, don't worry about it. Your pension system is safe for next 100 years, which is sort of bullshit. And we have to admit bullshit is bullshit. And we have to tell people what we can really do. And if we need to change the system, I think we better explain to the people so that they can understand what's going on. I mean, right now, if you ask the general public, nobody understands what's really going on within the pension system. And people realize those who are paying some pension premium, their premium is used to support those who are not in your system. And that is not the way to do it. the Japanese corporation has a lot of cash, but they are not investing in Japan. So they are looking at the opportunity outside of Japan. So the government need to do two things. I think I still believe the government should stop talking about growth strategy. I don't think the government can come up with growth strategy. I mean, if you can do that, I said that a year ago here, if the government can come up with growth strategy and if it works, Soviet Union would have been still here and there's going to be a red flag on the White House. This is market economy and the government is not going to come up with growth strategy. What the government can do is to create a level playing field and deregulate where necessary and regulate where it's needed. Deregulation, like the Japanese, I mean, Japan has the real aging society. I mean, everyone knows that. But in this aging society, we still don't have good auto-drive technology. So those who are in 70s and 80s are still driving and getting in an accident. We should deregulate and so that we can bring in auto-drive technology to Japan. And maybe, well, it's arguably, we need to bring in necessary regulation, like say, by 2030 or 2040 or whatever, those who are over 80 years old are not going to be able to drive the car. So that means there's going to be a big market for auto-drive technology. So people will be investing in that technology. Just like that, the government can set the regulation by 2030. All the grid need to be smart grid. Then people know there's going to be a market. People will start investing. Like the Tokyo government does, if the Japanese government say, okay, by 2030, every single roof has to have photovoltaic on top of it. So people will be investing in that technology for whatever newer, lighter one. So the government could use regulation to give incentive for the industry to investing in certain technologies. At the same time, we could deregulate so that the Japanese market will be at equal to the world market. And the Japanese government still failed to do that. And I think that is why people, I mean, the industry sitting on the cash, looking for place to invest, couldn't find domestically, so bring the cash outside. And that is not a good policy. Well, I'll spend 20 minutes, so I'll stop here and I welcome your questions, whatever. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Representative Kono. We are live streaming today on YouTube. The event will be archived, so you can watch it later, but we're also receiving questions from our online audience. We'll start with our working press in this room. Please identify yourself, your organization, and please, our guest has a very tight window today. We're going to end just a few minutes before 12, but keep yourself to one question and no speeches. So with that, we'll open the floor for our working press. Yes, sir.
Hi there, my name is Peter Master. I'm from Kyoto News International. I just wanted to ask why you have felt so compelled to be so vocal following the election about the LDP's failure to hold their majority. I think you've been the most vocal major politician. So I'm just wondering why you felt that you were the person to do that.
Thank you. Well, as I said, I was deputy campaign manager for this upper house election because I fought in the general election last year, and I really felt we were not able to send a message to the voters. We couldn't set agenda. And so I actually volunteered to be Kihara-san, who is a campaign manager, his deputy. I know him quite well, and he was a bit surprised because he's younger, and I said, it doesn't really matter. Maybe I, things I can do. So I actually volunteered. And I went around interviewing the candidate and the local organization, and every single one of them. Okay, LDP usually put out a big, thick platform with many policies. Nobody reads, nobody cares, actually. So they said, okay, we need to set agenda. We need to say, okay, LDP is going to do this, and that need to excite the people. And they want me to convey the message to the leadership. And I've been talking to the leadership, okay, we need to do this, we need to do this, we need to do this, until the end, nothing happened. So I feel responsible. I mean, I've been talking to the candidate, and I say, okay, we will do that. I promised them, and I wasn't able to deliver. So I resigned on the next day, and I'm still talking about, okay, LDP need to change. And the current leadership failed to do that. So we have to have new leadership. And the Prime Minister is in the middle of this tariff negotiation. Some people say, yes, negotiation has been concluded. We are not so sure. So the Prime Minister and Akazawa-san know what's going on. So the Prime Minister could decide for his own fate. But at least the party side, starting from Secretary General, they are not involved in the tariff negotiation. So they need to be responsible for this outcome. And we need to bring in a new leadership so that people can actually believe this LDP-led government could deliver what they need.
So just to follow up on that, I'll take the liberty, because I've asked you this question before we began. You do not expect another lower house general election this year, 2025. Why not?
Well, LDP Komeito certainly wouldn't want to do that. And among the opposition parties, like a constitutional Democratic Party and Ishin, I don't think they want to do that. So I don't think we're going to have a general election this year. I think we need to, the minority government need to create a majority by policies. I think that's how we should be able to survive.
All right, very good. Yes, sir.
Thank you for the talk. My name is Diederik Baziel. I'm a journalist from the Netherlands writing for a Dutch magazine and newspaper. And my question is about the US, and was wondering how you would describe the current state of the alliance between Japan and the US, and if you see an alternative to this relationship for Japan.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, since everyone's watching this, I need to be careful. This is on the record, I guess, right? Well, I'm not happy with the current relationship with the United States. United States, Japan, Europe, and other like-minded countries should have been sitting down together discussing how we should be dealing with China's excess capacity in many things. How are we going to deal with Russian aggression, or Russian aggression and North Korea and China supporting that kind of thing. Well, instead of doing it, Washington right now is just randomly shooting, and they are shooting some like-minded country from behind. And I never really thought this was going to happen. I was a foreign minister during the Trump one. And during Trump one, Washington had a people who could say, no, Mr. President, like General Mattis, H.R. McMaster, Mark Esper, Mike Pompeo. They say, no, Mr. President. And, well, at the end of the day, they get fired. But at least Washington had some adults. In this administration, I don't see them. And during Trump 1, we talked about tariff on aluminum and steel. And, you know, the cabinet members understood the steel coming from Japan has nothing to do with American security. But they couldn't tell that to the president. So Abe-san had to talk to the president instead. This time, same thing. The cabinet member take orders from President Trump, but I don't think they can talk to the president other way. So I'm quite unhappy with this. And, you know, things Washington has been doing, like getting rid of U.S. aid or ignoring all the liberal international order and things, they have been making China, Xi Jinping, quite happy. Xi Jinping must be smiling. And U.S. influence is diminishing. And so we really need to think about Plan B in many ways. For security, yes, U.S.-Japan security treaty is still going to be cornerstone of the peace and stability in East Asia. But I think we really need to talk to NATO and get NATO expansion into the Pacific. I mean, not right now. They're busy with the Ukraine situation. But once the Ukraine situation ends, we are hoping NATO will change its character from regional organization to global organization to defend common values like democracy, rule of law, human rights. And Japan need to be part of that. Japan, Korea, Australia, the Philippines, and New Zealand, you know, some country in Asia, Middle East could join NATO to defend the common value. I think that's going to be the plan B for that. And for economy, yes, we'll need to expand CPTPP. UK is now part of it. We can talk to EU. We can expand that to Latin America. We can invite some countries from Africa, Middle East, and create a new economic order centered around CPTPP, things like that. I think we really need to step up those efforts.
All right, I recognize two people in the room. First, yes, madam.
Hi, my name is River Davis from the New York Times. Thank you very much, Kono-san, for today. I'd like to ask a bit more about your evaluation of the trade deal between the US and Japan. Obviously, as someone who was involved in quite similar conversations during Trump 1.0, is there anything that you think Japan should have done better during the course of these negotiations? Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I'm not involved in this tariff thing, so you better ask Akazawa-san. But, I mean, Washington is definitely breaking international rules, and they are trying to get away with it. We have been very critical of China for not following the international rules. And then, well, come to think of it, I often talk to Secretary Tillerson, Secretary Pompeo. Yes, U.S. need to honor international rules, and U.S. need to join all the international convention. And they always say, oh, Senate, or, you know, even if we are not sign up with UNCLOS, we are, you know, doing what we should be doing if U.S. is part of the UNCLOS. And I told them that's not good. China could say the same thing. And so U.S. definitely need to join the international convention. Now they are openly violating those rules, and so who wants to keep those rules? So I think we definitely need to create some kind of international rules. Even if U.S. is not part of it, we need to create international rules, and we try to keep among us. 15%, well, it's better than 24, 25, but it used to be much lower. So we shouldn't be happy about it. And some Japanese company trying to reduce the price so that they could keep the market share in the U.S. If everyone trying to lower the price so that they can keep the price in the United States, the American consumer won't feel the heat. I think that's the wrong policy. I think the American consumer need to learn, if you put out a tariff, you have to pay more to buy things. I think that's the only way to stop another round of tariff war. Now, tariff has become one of the major income source for the American government. So American government would have very difficult time reducing tariff if they have to. So I think we should have kind of international convention how to deal with American tariff issue, and we need to encourage them to keep the price so that price in the United States will go up as what tariff should be doing.
Yes.
Thank you very much for having a so very nice lecture. So my name is Horikoshi of Kyodo News. August 15 is 80th anniversary of the end of the Pacific War. Do you think that Ishiba-san should say something new about international policy or a peaceful message? So if you are Prime Minister right now, how would you use this opportunity, historical opportunity? Thank you.
Well, thank you. I think Prime Minister should say something on August 15th every year, and this marks 80th anniversary. So Prime Minister should say something about the current situation. Well, the liberal international order that brought about this economic prosperity and the peace after the World War II is under siege. I mean, Russia is openly invading Ukraine, and North Korea, China are supporting that. China is increasing the nuclear warhead. Things like that. So we really need to send out some peace message to the world. I mean, Hidankyo won the Nobel Peace Prize, and but still there are countries, government who try to develop the nuclear weapons. So definitely the Prime Minister of Japan should be sending out some message on August 15th. Not only August 15th, probably on Hiroshima and Nagasaki too.
I'm going to go to one of our online questions. This is from Eric Johnston of the Japan Times. He notes Kamiya-san, the Sanseito leader, posted a social media photo yesterday with a member of the far-right German political party AfD. He seems to be interested in forming direct connections with these parties in the US as well as Europe. How do you see Sanseito's rise, and would you be in favor of Sanseito as a coalition partner?
Coalition partner, definitely no. I think we need to be very careful about those extremists in foreign countries as well as those in Japan. Yes, when economy is not good, or when things are not going well, people always trying to look for some reason. And, those extremists always come in and tell you, oh, you are not the one. You are not the bad one. There's a bad guy out there. And because of those bad guys, you are suffering. That's the message. And I think we really need to be careful with those messages. And that's why we definitely need to have immigration policy. And that's why we really need to set policy and rules. And those foreigners coming within the rules, we need to welcome, we need to support them. But we definitely need to implement policies and draw the threshold. And I think the government failed to do that. That kind of led to these extreme voices.
All right. Yes, sir. George?
My name is Baumgartner. I'm working for Swiss television. All the reforms you mentioned earlier, which structural reforms in particular, which Mr. Abe didn't implement, all these reforms, all these things you mentioned earlier, do you think is it shared by your party? Do you think Jimito can come with the reforms which can convince all the people who voted for these extremist parties to trust you and to give you another chance to really change Japan?
Well, Abenomics had a so-called 3 arrows, and easy money, expansive budgetary policy, and structural change. And easy monetary policy, everyone welcomes, right? And, let's spend more on the budget, and no one object to that. So those 2 arrows went forward. But the third one, the most important and the most difficult, structural change, really didn't happen. And people start saying the third arrow is the growth strategy. And that's a big lie, and that was the biggest bullshit. Structural change lead to someone would have to renounce the privilege they have enjoyed, and some unlevel playing field must be fixed to level playing field. So some people actually suffer, but they're going to be more opportunity. They're going to be fair opportunity, and bring in more talent and the resource into that. And that's what we should have been doing. But structural change bring in those tough elements. So people start talking about the growth strategy, and government could identify certain industry, and we will bring in more resource to that, and those industry will start grow and lead the Japanese economy, and it makes everyone happy. There's no tough element in it, and they're going to be more spending from the government, and that's a bad dream. And so those inefficient part of the economy stayed there, and the Japanese economy didn't really get going. Well, actually, Abenomics get the Japanese economy out of deflation and bring into the world of inflation and interest rates. So we should have been terminated the Abenomics there and bring in a new economic policy, and we failed to do that. And we still, there are still people in LDP, mostly former member of Abe faction, those Abe believer, they still don't want to say the age of Abenomics is over. They still think, well, we should pursue Abenomics. I think they are wrong. And we definitely need to bring in structural change, although it's kind of tough. Well, without majority in both houses, bringing tough element is quite difficult for the current government. Opposition would say that would hurt somebody, let's not do that. It's easy to say that. So it's just like, oh yeah, let's cut the consumption tax to help some household, but that is going wrong way. What we really need to do is we really need to forget about growth strategy and bring in the real structural change.
Okay, next question from online, Khaldun Azari, former president, asking you, I think with your foreign affairs hat, what is your opinion and position on Japan's not recognizing Palestine as a state? Certainly we've had, I believe, Canada and France saying that they're going to do so, the UK with contingencies. Why isn't Japan doing this as well?
When I was foreign minister, I really put Middle Eastern agenda one of the top priority for foreign policy in Japan. And I actually talked to Abe-san about recognizing state of Palestine. And Abe-san said, well, he's not really against that, but let's do that on the right timing. And well, so I wasn't, I didn't do that. But Japan, among the G7, I think Japan should have been the first government to recognize the state of Palestine among the G7, because Japan is only country among the G7 which is not based in a Christian civilization. Japan has no colonial history in the Middle East. Japan is not related to any religion in the region. We don't have many Jewish people, Muslim people. The Christian community in Japan is very small. So we should have been the first government to recognize the state of Palestine. And now we are missing the bus, and I really regret it. We heard that France, UK, Canada, Australia are thinking about recognizing the state of Palestine earlier this year. So we collected the signature from Japanese MP, upper house, lower house. We got 146 MPs signing petition to recognize the state of Palestine, and we brought to the foreign minister and to the prime minister via foreign minister. And we're doing again with new upper house member. But I really regret we missed the bus.
Okay, again, I'll come to you just in a second. From an online audience, this is Rocky Swift of Reuters. Japanese government bonds have been very volatile lately. Yields on long-term bonds have reached record highs. This has ramifications for Japan's borrowing costs, as well as companies and home buyers. What do you believe is the cause of this, and how would you calm the market?
Yes, in Japan, we have LDP, which is for big government, and the rest for bigger government. So there's nobody really trying to insist we need to balance the budget. My platform for the leadership election last year was let's bring in a discipline to the budget, and we need to have 2% surplus in the primary balance, and I lost. So the balancing budget is probably not a good thing within LDP, but I still believe we definitely need to reduce the government expenditure. There are a lot of budget increase during COVID. Even before that, when we had our big East Japan earthquake, the budget increased. And even before that, there was economic tsunami, and we increased the budget. And did we streamline those budgets? No, we didn't. So the budget size of the budget has been growing and growing. So it's time for us to say, okay, we really need to balance the budget. Let's cut the unnecessary expenditure. We need to streamline the social security. Nobody like it, but I think we definitely have to do it, and we failed to do that. And now the opposition party talking about reducing consumption tax, gasoline tax, reducing the tax revenue, and people talking about giving out more benefit. That would definitely increase the budget deficit. And that has led to this volatility in the bond market, higher interest on long-term bond. So we definitely need to start cutting expenditure. And that's why I've been saying the government needs to talk to the Bank of Japan, ask Bank of Japan to raise interest rate, and in return for that, government will streamline expenditure and trying to balance the budget.
Takuya Nishimura, freelance journalist. Given the result of upper house election, in which the LDP lost the majority in both houses of Diet, there are discussion in the LDP about the leadership, who is responsible for that, for that result, or a kind of a retirement of resignation of the prime minister. Given the situation of the divided in the LDP, I cannot identify which position are you standing. Can you explain about that?
Which position? Excuse me.
Which position are you standing on this turmoil in the LDP? One is divided in two. One is anti-Ishiba.
I see. Do you support the Prime Minister continuing in office?
Well, I think it's up to the Prime Minister. I mean, as I said, the Prime Minister and Nakazawa-san only know what's really going on with negotiation with Washington. So if he thinks he need to complete that, he will stay. If he thinks whatever we see conclusion, that's the end, maybe he might step down. So it's up to the Prime Minister.
Sir, I'm going to take the liberty of asking the last question. And this is, I think maybe you're the only person who's ever held this role, and that was your position during the pandemic and looking at or leading Japan's rollout of vaccines and vaccination and so on. It's probably not the last pandemic we're going to see in our lifetimes. Do you feel that Japan is ready for round two? What kind of prep should still be done in anticipation of that?
Thank you. Well, Japan failed to develop vaccine for COVID. That was really disappointing. And I had to call Europe every night to negotiate with Pfizer, Moderna, so that they could get more vaccine on airplane to Haneda or whatever. So we definitely need to do some vaccine and pharmaceutical things. Some people told me quite a big chunk of material to produce drugs used in Japan coming from China. Well, if that is so, we definitely need to develop the second source. And right now, if you go to pharmacy, many pharmacies don't have enough drugs to give out on the prescription. There are too many pharmaceutical manufacturers on generic, and they only want to produce those got big profit. And many of the drugs in long-term use give you just a little profit, and those pharmaceutical manufacturers are not willing to increase those. And as a result, all the pharmacies always asking for more drugs, and that is not a healthy situation. That's number one. Number two, doctors. We are not able to tell doctors what to do. We still don't have, the government don't have legal authority to tell doctor to come forward and do the vaccination. We have to raise the pay for doctors and nurses so that they think it'll be more profitable to come to do the vaccine than continue their practice. So we definitely need to change the law. So in time of pandemic, the government has authority to tell doctors what to do. Thirdly, we got big help from the local government, and those local government was very forward-thinking mayors. They could really speed up the process. And there are mayors who are not willing to do things. So I think the relationship between the central government and the local government, I think we really need to go over that. Right now, the LDP and Komeito government are talking about 20,000 yen benefit. And all the mayors are calling me, hey, don't let us do this. Because so far, the last year's tax cut or before the COVID benefit, government decided and let the local government do the work. And that really hurt them. With digital system, the government could do all those things. So we really need to clearly divide the role of the central government and the local government, who decides what and who actually execute. And if the central government decides some policy, central government should execute, and they shouldn't use local government as, you know, kind of sidekick or something. So I think we really need to do a lot of things to prepare for the next pandemic.
All right. With that, we'll conclude today. I asked our guest speaker before we began today, I said, do you have a summer break coming up with the diet session ending? And he looked at me and he said, if you want a summer break, don't go into politics. Today, as always, we are honored to have you here, and we offer this one-year honorary membership in our organization. Thank you very much.
You. Thank you very much.